In Frank Herbert's Dune universe, humanity has banned artificial intelligence for over 10,000 years, not because they couldn't build thinking machines, but because they did, and fought a devastating war to destroy them. Today, as we grapple with ChatGPT and AI consciousness, let's explore what Herbert actually wrote about machine intelligence, human consciousness, and why his fictional universe chose such a radically different path. What you'll discover might change how you think about our own AI future. Welcome, consciousness explorers. Today we're diving deep into Frank Herbert's Dune to understand his fascinating take on consciousness and artificial intelligence. But here's what we're going to do differently. We'll stick to what Herbert actually wrote, separate his ideas from modern interpretations, and see what insights emerge. No conspiracy theories, no wild speculation, just the profound ideas of one of science fiction's greatest thinkers. So let's start with the foundation of Dune's universe, the Butlerian Jihad. The Butlerian Jihad, what Herbert actually wrote. In the Dune universe, the Butlerian Jihad was a war against thinking machines that occurred roughly 10,000 years before the events of the first novel. Herbert doesn't give us extensive details about the war itself in the original 6 books that came later from his son's writings. What Herbert does tell us is the result, a fundamental commandment that shaped their entire civilization. Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind. And he gives us this crucial quote. Once men turned their thinking over to machines in the hope that this would set them free. But that only permitted other men with machines to enslave them. Notice what Herbert is emphasizing here. It's not that machines became conscious and rebelled. It's that humans used machines to control other humans. The problem wasn't the technology itself, but how it was used to concentrate power. Throughout the original 6 novels, we see a universe that has developed alternative technologies, but nothing that thinks. No computers, no AI, no even basic calculators. Instead, they developed human potential. The human alternatives to AI. Here's what Herbert actually created as alternatives to artificial intelligence, Mentats. Described in the books as human computers, these are people trained from childhood to perform logical computations. Here's a key quote from Dune. A Mentat's real function is to be a supreme generalist, not a specialist. It is wise to have decisions of great moment monitored by generalists. What's interesting is that Mentats aren't just calculators. They combine computation with human intuition and judgment. They can be wrong, they can be biased, they have emotions. Herbert is showing us enhanced humans, not human machines. Bene Gesserit. These women have trained for generations to gain extraordinary control over their bodies and minds. From the books, we know they can. Control individual muscles and body functions. Neutralize poisons by changing their body chemistry. Use the voice to control others through tonal manipulation. Access genetic memories of their female ancestors. Guild navigators. These are humans who use massive doses of the spice melange to navigate spacecraft. The spice gives them limited prescience, the ability to see potential futures and choose safe paths through space. Each of these represents a different aspect of human enhancement, but they all maintain something essentially human, including human flaws and limitations. Prescience in Dune. Now let's talk about Paul Atreides and Prescience, because this is where Herbert explores consciousness most deeply. In Dune, Paul develops the ability to see possible futures. But Herbert makes clear this isn't simple fortune-telling. Here's how Paul describes it. The prescience, he realized, was an illumination that incorporated the limits of what it revealed, at once a source of accuracy and meaningful error. And later, prescience could be lethal. It could immobilize you. What Herbert is describing is a consciousness that can see probable futures based on current patterns, but the very act of seeing changes those futures. Paul becomes trapped by his own visions. He can see terrible futures and try to prevent them, but his actions to prevent them often lead to the very outcomes he feared. His son Leto Sao takes this even further in God Emperor of Dune. With even greater prescient abilities, Leto becomes isolated and inhuman, trapped in a prison of near omniscience. He literally transforms into a human sandworm hybrid and rules for 3,500 years in a state of profound loneliness. Herbert is exploring a fascinating question. What happens when consciousness expands too far? His answer seems to be that you lose your humanity. The Bene Gesserit and consciousness control. The Bene Gesserit sisterhood offers Herbert's most detailed exploration of consciousness enhancement. Let's look at what the books actually say. They practice something called prana bindu training, complete muscle and nerve control. They can slow their metabolism, control their heart rate, and even determine the sex of their unborn children. They achieve something called simulflow, the ability to hold multiple trains of thought simultaneously. As described in Heretics of Dune, this is like mental multitasking taken to an extreme level. Most dramatically, through a ritual called the spice agony, they can access genetic memories. A reverend mother can remember the lives of all her female ancestors. But there's a catch. They can't access male genetic memories. This place where they cannot look becomes a crucial limitation. What's Herbert saying here? These women have achieved extraordinary consciousness expansion, but it comes with strict limitations and costs. The training takes years, the spice agony can kill, and even success means carrying the memories and personalities of countless ancestors, a burden as much as a gift. Herbert's philosophy of consciousness. Looking across all 6 original Dune novels, certain themes about consciousness emerge consistently. 1. Consciousness expansion has costs. Every character who gains extraordinary abilities pays a price. Paul loses his humanity becoming a messiah. Leto, too, becomes a monster. Guild navigators mutate into barely human forms. 2. Perfect prediction is impossible. Even with prescience, characters can't achieve total control. In fact, the more they can see, the more trapped they become by their visions. 3. Human judgment matters. Mentats aren't valued just for calculation, but for judgment. The Bene Gesserit combine knowledge with wisdom. Herbert consistently shows that consciousness isn't just about processing information, it's about meaning and values. 4. Power concentrates dangerously. Whether it's thinking machines or prescient humans, Herbert warns against allowing too much power to concentrate in any system or person. The spice and consciousness. The spice melange is central to consciousness expansion in Dune. Let's look at what Herbert actually tells us. It extends life. It enhances mental abilities. In large doses, it can trigger prescience. It's addictive. Withdrawal is fatal. It can cause physical mutations. Herbert wrote Dune during the 1960s when psychedelic experimentation was prevalent. While he never explicitly connected melange to LSD or other substances, the parallel is hard to miss, a substance that expands consciousness but carries serious risks. What's interesting is that in Herbert's universe, consciousness expansion requires this physical catalyst. You can't just download abilities or plug into a computer. The body and mind must transform together, and the process is dangerous and irreversible. What Herbert didn't say. It's important to note what Herbert didn't write. He didn't describe the Butlerian Jihad in detail. That came from his son's books. He didn't say thinking machines became conscious and rebelled. He didn't explicitly connect his ideas to modern AI development. He didn't present a detailed philosophy of consciousness. What he did do was create a universe where humanity chose a radically different path, enhancing human consciousness rather than creating artificial consciousness. And he showed both the benefits and the terrible costs of that choice. Relevance to today. So what can we actually learn from Dune about consciousness and AI? Here's what Herbert's work suggests. 1. The danger isn't just in the technology. Herbert's concern wasn't that machines would become conscious and turn against us. It was that we would surrender our agency to them, or that people would use them to control others. 2. Consciousness enhancement isn't free. Every method of expanding consciousness in Dune comes with costs. There's no free lunch, no simple upgrade. 3. Human elements matter. What makes Mentats valuable isn't just computation, but judgment. What makes the Bene Gesserit powerful isn't just their abilities, but their wisdom in using them. 4. Perfect control is an illusion. Even with prescience, characters can't achieve perfect prediction or control. Uncertainty and choice remain fundamental to consciousness. Conclusion. Frank Herbert didn't predict ChatGPT or worry about artificial general intelligence. What he did was imagine a universe where humanity had rejected that path entirely and explored what the alternatives might be. His vision wasn't anti-technology but pro-human agency. The Butlerian Jihad wasn't just about destroying machines, it was about ensuring humans remained in control of their own destiny. Whether we're developing AI or exploring consciousness expansion through meditation, neurofeedback, or even psychedelics, Herbert's core message remains relevant. Whatever path we choose, we must maintain human agency, accept the costs of our choices, and remember that consciousness, artificial or enhanced, is not a solution to the human condition, but another expression of it. The question Dune poses isn't whether we should build thinking machines or enhance human consciousness. It's whether we can do either while remaining essentially human, flawed, uncertain, but free to choose our own path. What do you think? Does Herbert's vision of enhanced humans instead of AI offer insights for our current moment? Share your thoughts below. If you found value in this exploration of Dune's ideas, please like and subscribe. And remember, in Herbert's own words, the mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience. Until next time, keep exploring consciousness, but always with your eyes open to both the possibilities and the costs.